Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome to our Supreme Commander Spring Invitational Grand Final coverage between Nexus and Tagada. This is Game 5, ladies and gentlemen, so if you haven't seen Games 1 to 4, I highly suggest you go and watch those now. They are the preceding forecasts on this channel, because today's game will include spoilers of those games, and I don't want to get a whole load of abuse in the comments. So that's basically what it's all about. Forget your entertainment, it's all about my mental well-being. That's the main concern here. Yeah, Game 5, we were always going to play all Game 7 no matter the outcome of this final, but it is 2 games all apiece between these two guys. It looks like they're taking it to the wire nonetheless. It's been very exciting so far. Can't wait to see what happens today. It's going down on open palms today, and the best news is there's no news, so we can go straight to the action. I'm ready, you guys are ready, and the players are sure as hell ready, so let's go over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Ching, ka-ching. Instead of loading, let's check out the players in their glorious openings in their green nookie nooks. Up here at the top in fabulous vivacious violet, as always, it's Nexus. Today he's going Cybrin, and he's opening first land. And his opponent down here, the one and only Tagada, in his customary burgundy red, going UEF today, and he is also opening first land. We'll zoom out, we'll go to split screen so we can check out how these guys are going to open today, and you can pass their build orders off as your own. I know that's what you guys love to do. It's what you all tell me. You all like to pretend that it's your clever idea when you're sneaking it from the pros. Well, these guys essentially going for the Hydro start by the looks of it. No early T1 P-Gens going up in that initial build order. It's Land Factory. Then the Con builds all 4 of the Mexes. The first engineer out of the factory guns it over to the Hydro. No reclaim on the way for Nexus, but Tagada's going to sneak a couple of rocks on the way there. You like that? I'll just grab those. There's plenty of time. Oh, and I'll get a tree while I'm at. Yeah, we'll get some forest, get a couple of rocks. That will mean, by the looks of things, that Nexus will get to work on his Hydro a little bit sooner. I'm wondering if that'll be telling at all, but we've got the next factory queues out, and they're pretty similar. Both players, by the looks of things, are going for 2 land factories and an air factory. An extra one queued up now for Nexus. Not sure of the exact order, but both of them throwing that air factory down next to the Hydro, all above board and perfectly normal. We do have a couple of labs that have come out there from Tagada. He's going to split them off in different directions, no doubt trying to bag an engineer as they expand out for the mass points at the side of the screen. The left-hand mech marine might get scouted by this mole, so Nexus might have an idea that there's some lab offense coming his way, but he's not in a position to do much about it. He's still spitting engineers out, although that looks like he has got a Mantis, so we'll see if that's directed down the left-hand side to try and deal with these things. Both of these guys, as soon as the Hydro is up and running, they spat out 5 T1 P-Gens. I'm still looking at Nexus, but I think it's pretty much a similar thing over there. Oh no, okay, so we went 3 T1 P-Gens there for Tagada, and then Land Factory, and then 2 T1 P-Gens, but really it's potato at the end of the day. Nexus going for 3 land factories and then the air factory. Tagada going 1 land factory and then the air factory, and then 1 land factory. So Tagada will have slightly earlier access to air units by the looks of things, whereas Nexus might have more firepower on the ground a little bit earlier. Mole gets taken out there as it makes its way all the way to the front of Tagada's base. Excuse me. And a mech marine, that one that we saw down the western approach, going to nestle himself up right next to this mass extractor. Indeed he will, so he will probably pick up a kill on this engineer here. The other mech marine we saw just moving up to this other starting location up at the top of the screen, and indeed you can hear the little Gatling guns open up from that mech marine, and he will indeed pick up the kill there. Mech marine then given alternative orders, maybe to move into the back 3 mexes. Indeed, that's where the waypoint is set. So there we have it. Opening exchange. Little engineer kill there for Tagada. Mantis has moved its way down here. It's going to pick up a snoop kill and find himself engaging a striker. Tagada going to pull that engineer out of harm's way, keep it alive. Newbies out there might be wondering, well, what's the big deal about losing an engineer? Well, These early engineers are the first ones to expand, so it really does slow you up if you are prevented from grabbing these mexes, maybe throwing down a land factory. It can hamper your expansion to a whole area of the map by several minutes. So it can be a huge blow to get those taken out, or indeed a rather snazzy bit of play if you're the one executing it and putting your opponent on the back foot. The Mech Marine unsuccessful at bagging any engineer kills up here at the top left, but he served his purpose with that engineer kill down here. Nexus getting another one out now to finish off the construction of that mass extractor. Now Nexus is going to tangle with a couple of strikers down here next to this other Hydro. In fact, his forces are split as he potentially looks for an avenue to get in around the back. This is one of the most annoying aspects of open palms, trying to prevent your opponent from getting in around the back, because that's a lot of mexes potentially. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So an awful lot of mass that could be vulnerable if you lose track of your opponent's ground forces around the back of the Nook. Interceptor 46% done. He's already got 4 or 5 on the field. Have we got any super early upgrades on the way? Not yet for Tagada at the very least, establishing mass T1 production. Tagada's comm over in the east and Nexus's comm over in the west. Always the most interesting format when they choose alternate sides to push with their commanders. Spam sent in one direction, comm sent in another. Tagada, not wanting to get his spam taken out by the comm, has pushed it all the way up and might be in position to prevent this point defense from going online if he's quick. There's too many Mantis, I think, lying in wait, and he is in fact going to drop back if he's got any sense or if he's not paying attention. And on goes the point defense. That is completed. He will now not successfully push this aside. His best bet would be to withdraw. Unfortunately, gets annihilated in that exchange. And now looking for vengeance. He's going to push over at the top right with his commander. Nexus not far off getting another point defense online up here as well. Commander now in range. Mantis scrambling. Point defense up and running, but he needs to get wall sections up around it as well. Auto gun smashing down those strikers before unloading on Tagada's comm. Tagada determined to kill a wall section on the other side of the point defense, promptly reclaims all of the wall sections and then goes to work on the point defense, but he's giving up a lot of hit points here. He really is down to 9,000. He is going to successfully take this location, and he's got more support rolling in. Meanwhile, Nexus has pushed down here and he's bagged the opposite corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mexes in this vicinity. Another 2 over here, which he's already collected. And now in a position to do some damage either at the main base or push in around the back. The back might be the best bet. We've got engineers being airdropped down here, or at least one, maybe all of them up onto the ridge, in fact. Yeah, not airdropping any. I was wondering if we were going to see another little installation put up here as a position to launch an attack on Nexus over here, but yeah, he's dropping off down here. Radar system. And the rest going up onto the ridge by the looks of things. Meanwhile, Nexus pushing in towards the back. Another contingent just strafing in between the central plateau that was in Tagada's hands, but is now under attack from Nexus. And there's a lot of Burgundy UEF belonging to Tagada up at the top of the screen, potentially causing problems for Nexus. Nexus backing up with his spam over here to a position where he knows he can prevent a run by. Wants to defend these 3 mexes up at the top. A couple of strikers do make it up there, but there's an operational point defense guarding well. Nexus already in command of the plateau at the top right of the screen. Has land factories set up there and everything already. Mass extractor under assault from the ridge from a couple of Mantis. Tagada would wish he'd had a Lobo in this mix, I'm sure, to contend with these. He's going to lose that Mex. It's over, Anakin. I've got the high ground. Quite literally not going well there for Tagada's forces. He's going to lose both of those Mexes by the look of things. He does have forces rolling in. Meanwhile, over in the west, a run by from Tagada, or at least an attempt in between Nexus's comm, his forces, and that middle plateau. But not faring too well. Tagada's going to withdraw that. Another bit of posturing near the center on the other side of the map. Tagada with his commander. Both these commanders still unupgraded. They've been far too busy for anything like that. Tagada is now at T2 and he's moving out with some Mongoose up to the top of the screen. And we're also at T2 there for Nexus. 65% done on a Rhino. We've already got a couple of them over here, and a Hoplite and a T2 engineer, so it looked like potentially Nexus went earlier, although the first Mongoose is all the way up here, so it might have been very, very close between these two. Matching each other step for step by the looks of things. Tagada's northernmost position under assault might hang on to this factory, but he's lost all of the core mass around it. Nexus withdrawing, taking out another couple of mexes up here on their way past. You get the feeling this is just going a little bit more nicely for Nexus. It's 28k apiece. These guys pretty close, potentially neck and neck on eco. Nexus doing slightly better on reclaim. Tagada obviously, I guess, having the lion's share of generated eco. Tagada getting to work on rebuilding that position at the top. He's going to cut short his pursuit of that T1 spam up at the top and bring it back with his other inbound forces to make sure there aren't new problems brewing from the main base back up towards that position. Still one operational T1 point defense down here. Nexus largely abandoning that, just jostling back and forth over here. So it's one plateau apiece and more or less 50-50 on the main field. Nexus does have two T1 mexes on the middle plateau and a very nicely positioned T1 point defense, but we have got pillars and Mongoose rolling in now. It's going to be hard for him to hold on to that. Engineer goes down as well. That's probably going to be the end of those T1 mexes on that plateau. Tagada repaying the compliment at the other side of the map after having previously lost his T2 mexes, or his two T1 mexes, sorry, down here, and he's losing them again. Again, another Medusa this time, just bombarding from the ridge, causing problems all round. Has that spam been brought back? So Tagada sending some units to clear out the plateau, but then bringing this spam back to contend with some of the units lying in wait near his main base. No rush to anything crazy like Tech 3. We do have T2 air for Tagada. We're starting to see A wider unit mix now with parashields coming online. And a gun upgrade on the way for Nexus. That could be important. Tagada still unupgraded so far. And he's not looking particularly stable up here. So finding the time to keep that comm anchored to the spot, that could be difficult for him. Conversely, this could be difficult for Nexus, who's at 42% on the upgrade, rooted to the spot while he completes that upgrade, but there is T2 rumblings from Tagada over in the west. One lone Lobo sent in to contend with these 4 mexes and the auto gun. Doesn't want to roll in too close. Oh, unnecessary casualty. Did not need to do that. Gun speed and range almost complete. 80% done. That could be huge in a game like this. Once again, Tagada unable to hold on to that position. Starts work on a factory down here. Definitely needs to get a proper secondary base up and running. Bottom left-hand corner almost taken out. 2 mexes down, 2 remain. The point defense destroyed. So Mongoose and Lobo fire. And just 2 Mantis in the area remain for Nexus. Very much back and forth. But there is an upgraded Cyber Commander now, and there is not an upgraded UEF Commander. These guys seem at relative parity everywhere else in terms of unit numbers. Maybe a small advantage for Tagada, which would make sense after the resources poured into that upgrade. And Tagada is just about inching ahead. He's about 1.5k up now, above Nexus in total mass accrued over the course of the game. Nexus now putting that upgrade to good use, getting his comm in the mix, overcharging as he goes, picking off the T2 units initially. Tagada in full retreat in the face of it. Some T1 bombers massing up here. "31 interceptors, I think that reads, with 5 out of fuel, 5 more on top of that out of fuel. Tagada on 43 with 1 out of fuel, but he's got a couple of Notha fighter bombers as well, 3 of them to be exact. One of them up here, hassling these northern forces of Nexuses. Interceptors tangle, that should go better for Tagada. He's got better numbers. Janus inbound, bombarding this spam. There's no ground-to-air firepower in the mix for Nexus. Got some over here on the other side of the map, some bangers. Relatively even numbers over here. Maybe a small advantage for Nexus with these rhinos. Indeed, that is going to go better for Nexus. It wasn't a small advantage, it was a pretty large one. And now we're getting an upgrade on that comm for Tagada. 45% done on that Zeph amp, that gun and range. Gun damage and range, sorry. Engineers trying to get more land factories up and running. He's got another one here, but it's not currently producing anything. And that upgrade does complete. So Tagada has addressed his disadvantage, but he's lost the bottom left-hand corner once more. Saucy little drop over in the east. Picks off the mexes, but gets Janused to oblivion. Love the smell of napalm in the morning. Rhino faring very well against superior numbers of pillars. Now a direct challenge against the main base of Tagada brewing in the west. There's that group of rhinos that just tore through that assorted T1 and T2 spam of Tagada's up at the western edge of the map. He's not going to push all the way in, doesn't like the look of that, he's just skirmishing. Group of T1 bombers. Lots of T1 bombers, in fact. Heading to the bottom left corner. They're going after the plateau. So Nexus attacking on all fronts right now. Look at that bombing run. Engineers over here working on a railgun. Missed opportunity to a massive, massive multi-kill there, but didn't manage to get a read on it, but gets the multi-kill a little bit later, but the railgun is online. But the important thing for Nexus is he's managed to smash all of those mexes. And now it looks as if we're starting to get some com-on-com action brewing. These guys are stone's throw away from one another now. Nexus taking some pot shots at some exposed units outside of that parashield. Gunships, meanwhile, repaying the compliment up at the top right of the screen after that T1 bomber assault from Nexus on the bottom left. Bit of Janus support in there also. Focusing down the land factory before moving on elsewhere. Tagada, trying to prevent these T1 mexes getting taken out again, is moving in on those T2 units with his comm, overcharging as he goes, but has promptly been outrun. He's going to have to let his units do the rest. But now we are getting into the T3 phase of the game. Nexus with some loyalists doing their best Bernie Sanders impression. Stomping their way through that small contingent of strikers. Do we have any T3 for Tagada? Yes, we do. And he's working on Percival's, and they cannot get completed too soon. He just needs one or two to contend with those loyalists, and he'll be able to fend off this attack. There are more loyalists, and even the odd bouncer being sent up to this unit mix to face off potentially against Tagada. Or is he going to push through? He might push through the middle, take the plateau and cause problems in behind Tagada, force him to drop back. Nexus seems to generally have had the jump on Tagada so far in this game. He's been forcing him to different areas of the map, maneuvering him to where he wants him to be, opening up new avenues as a result, and then attacking through those. Gunships lying in wait up here, probably unaware that there are now bouncers and flak lurking in these groups of units. Solid T2 contingent into the backfield belonging to Tagada, but there's lots of engineers working on T1 point defense in the meantime. Gunships thinning out the units. That attack through the middle petering out, but it has prompted Tagada to withdraw. It's allowing Nexus to push up in that direction, just as we said he might. Mongoose using their ranged advantage And their rocket spam against the point defense. Need to deal with those engineers though, but it's too little too late. The Burnies have shown up. Well defended, and as it happens, nothing apart from the point defense was ever in jeopardy in that attack. But look at that, look at the difference. Nexus getting in down that western side of the map, which has really been largely open. Nexus has done a lot better job guarding that flank. But he's got in around the back, he's obliterated everything. He's left the T2 mechs there with about 1,000 hit points, so a very minor mistake there. Doesn't like the look of that Percival. It's going to withdraw the rest of those troops. We've got over here a Dragonfly taking it somewhere on. He's landed a couple of loyalists up on the plateau now, so Nexus potentially in control of both plateaus. Just needs to kill that engineer and that Lobo, and he can start airdropping some engineers. He hasn't rebuilt up in the top right, but he's still in control of it. And he's actually just got ahead in total eco. It's very, very close, but he's about 500 mass up in total on Tagada. Something like that. Percival gets ganged up on. And a couple of trebuchets, 3 in fact, lining up over here. I've been softening up these units. You can see the impact craters. "25 minutes gone. You just get the feeling it's going Nexus's way, and he's pulling ahead in total eco as well. He's opened up a 5k gap, more or less. He seems to have the tools. He's maneuvering Tagada around. Every time there's a change in tempo, a switch in tech or unit comp, it seems to be Nexus that's largely benefiting. Now got multiple factories working on Percival production. And not a moment too soon. So we've had an engineer drop to the bottom left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. 6 odd engineers. They should get everything up and running, but they have missed the Lobo. How important will that be, I wonder? Trebuchets still softening things up around these land factories. Tagada has dropped back with his spam, and in fact moving back now with his commander as well. And if you look at the mini-map, that is definitely a shrinking Burgundy sphere of influence as Nexus drops up to the top right corner. He did deal with the Lobo, working on some defenses, and he's queued up a land factory down there on the bottom left plateau. Excuse the dog if you can hear him barking in the background. Very upset, didn't get selected to run for local council as a Labour candidate. Apparently even Labour won't take dogs as candidates. I was as surprised as you are, believe me. So we're getting a little bit of movement from Tagada offensively, but he's going to be outmatched when these bricks join the party, which they are currently doing. Trebuchets in the mix as well, landing hits on their own forces. It's rather unfortunate. There's leading the target, and then there's leading the target too much. T2 upgrade on the way for Tagada. Just feel is drifting further and further behind in this one. He's now 12.5k or 12 and a bit k behind overall. That mass advantage growing for Nexus, who is going to shut down this attack by the looks of things. We have got a few Percies in here. Maybe I spoke too soon. That's quite a lot of units. But there's the psychological factor as well. You're well aware when you're on the back foot. Loyalists opening up a gap here, charging down that eastern approach. Potentially 2 more mechs kills down here. Tagada routed to the spot on a shield upgrade, 30% done there. Now we're starting to see T3 air materialize, emerge. T1 mechs is getting loyalist action treatment down in the bottom left as well. So Nexus utilizing T3 speed as well as the T3 stopping power where it's needed, with bricks up in the unit comp up here. Tagada does score a victory with that group of core mass taken out. Transport lurking nearby. Are we going to see some drops on the cards? So what have we got here? There's a bunch of Percies. There's definitely a mismatch in power over here, which is why you're seeing Nexus drop back. This could be interesting. If Tagada can hold out here, he might be able to cause some problems at least, as long as he micros well, although these are pretty badly battered. And then a large wave of T1 bombers in over the top from Nexus. Just doesn't have the units. He hasn't got the parashields, hasn't got the skyboxers to protect the ground units. And now we've got T3 gunships on the scene. Where are we at with air play? Well, as far as I can tell, we are nowhere for Tagada in air play. Seeing some Cougars, T3 anti-air rolling out now, moving up towards the commander. So this is a real issue now, as we've got T3 Cybran gunships, which are going to be able to just roam around the map and pick off all of Tagada's soft, exposed, jangly bits, of which there are many. That Cougar, the one thing that they need to look out for. Very, very clumped group of units down here. Those Percivals need to get on the move and get spread out. They're absorbing trebuchet fire. Ouch. And this will take a miracle, I think, for Tagada to pull this one back. He's completed his personal shield. So he's a pretty offensive looking comm, but I just don't see that's going to help him. How many whalers do we have now on the field for Nexus? We're up to 4. We do have a couple of Cougars. Tagada will be wanting to keep his comm close to the T3 mobile anti-air and underneath the parashields. It looks like he's going for a bit of death or glory here with the commander. He's got his Percival's up in one clump. Everything is pushing out in that direction to meet the main body of Nexus's forces. Nexus drifting off in this direction as well. He's not worrying about trying to counter push. I think he knows he's got Tagada on the ropes here. Parashields absorbing some of that incoming fire, but it doesn't take long for them to collapse against bricks. Strap bombers in over the top. The Cougars unload on them. They don't do an enormous amount of damage though. Down into the red, but the whalers show up. Those gunships start working on the Percivals, and now this looks like the final endgame. Tagada absorbing huge volleys from this formation of bricks over here. He drops back underneath the parashield, and now look at this surrounding formation. Lots of Percies in here, but they're all badly damaged. In comes a strap bomber over the top, and Tagada is throwing out the GG. He knows this is only going to end one way. I think he knew it when he sent his commander out there. Probably knew it when he started the shield upgrade, how far behind he was. Bosh! On the nose of 35 minutes pretty much, and Nexus goes ahead, I think, for the first time in this match. It's now 3-2 as he takes game 5. Still 2 more to play. We'll have to see how it pans out. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. More to come in the future, more to come tomorrow and the next day as we see game 6 and game 7. If you want to mix it up and you've seen everything else, I've just recently uploaded a new 2v2 ladder game on Patreon. Costs you $1 a month. What is that? That's not even chicken feed these days. Go check it out, guys. But until next time, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.